Hey, it's Sergio. In this game we call reality, identity shifting is the cheat code to wealth. It's the fastest path to actually level up and get rich and achieve your dreams. In this video, I'm going to give you a simple 4-step protocol that you can use to shift your identity today. Because if you've been hustling, trying different strategies, doing everything right and still slamming against the same invisible ceiling, your old identity is exactly what's keeping you stuck. And unless you can change that, you won't be able to get any different results than what you've been getting. You see, after 20 years of obsessing over reality creation, what I found is that every real breakthrough, every impossible success story, every leap from struggle to overflow, all those point to the same core truth. Your reality and everything within it, from your bank account to your business, everything, is a direct reflection of your beliefs, your subconscious beliefs, to be precise. And the most powerful of your beliefs, the belief that colors and literally filters your entire reality, is your identity, who you believe yourself to be. So at the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how to shift your identity, and it's going to be up to you whether to actually act on this information or not. Whether 6 months from now you're looking around at more of the same, or you're looking at a completely different reality. Because if you actually go through and implement the 4 steps that we'll talk about here today, your whatever out of reach reality that it might seem like it's impossible to get to will go from feeling impossible to actually being unavoidable even. Not because you're trying harder or doing the right things, but because you've actually shifted into the version of yourself for which that reality is inevitable. So if you're ready, grab a cup of coffee, grab a pen and paper or whatever you want to write with, and we'll get into it. So in this, for this video, we'll go over, hopefully this works here. We're going to go over how identity controls your reality, what the actual mechanism is for that, how that works, how your reality was programmed in the first place, usually before the age of 7 or 8, and how to shift your identity, what the process is. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. And if I can just get this to work. So how identity controls your reality. So this is a representation here of the reticular activating system. You probably have heard of this before. And I'll just write down reticular activating system. That's RAS. That's an S, by the way. Don't judge me. And what this does is basically again, you're probably familiar with this, but your brain has access to millions of bits of data every second that's kind of streaming in. Everything from the rate of your breathing to noises in the corner of the room that you may not be aware of, that may or may not be dangerous to you, right? So all these things are happening all around you at all times, and your brain decides what gets through to your actual conscious awareness, and the rest gets filtered out. So you're not completely overwhelmed by the things that happen every second of every day. This would all be fine, except that we've all been told a lie about reality, right? So what we're taught is the physical realm is primary and the cause of things, whereas the mental realm is, imagination, dreams, your mind, basically not as real, right? It doesn't matter as much, how it's just your imagination. Those sayings from childhood really influence how you think about reality. And like I said, this is simply not true. Your mental realm, in the Kabbalion, it talks about, the Hermetics talk about the 3 realms of the 3 planes of existence, which is the spiritual plane, the mental plane, and the physical plane. The physical plane is the realm of effect, whereas the other planes are where everything originates, the causation, right? So what happens in your mind today will dictate what you experience in your reality tomorrow. To be more specific, what your beliefs are down at the subconscious level, your true convictions about reality dictate what gets reflected back at you from the outside world, from the 3D realm. So what this means practically, we're talking about the reticular activating system, is instead of just being a neat little thing that, maybe scientists have discussed or talked about, this is actually a key component of how your reality gets created. Because if you can't perceive it, if your beliefs, your convictions, your identity is filtering out things that you can't even consciously perceive, that will make it so that you can't act on certain opportunities that may be around you right now, right? Opportunities to reach the next level of wealth, to break through your income ceiling, right? Or your revenue ceilings. Those opportunities most likely are all around you right now, but because you're operating from a different identity, a different level, sets of beliefs, you're not even able to perceive those. And a good example to illustrate this would be, so you can see it both ways, right? So you have a billionaire that loses all their wealth and goes into millions, hundreds of millions, or billions into debt. There's some famous stories out there. I think Donald Trump has a story. So a billionaire, that happens all the time. And then if they hold on to their identity as a billionaire, they will continue doing the things that billionaires do. The actions, the thoughts, the actual things that flow from that identity. And then eventually reality will reflect that back at them again, and they will once again have that level of wealth. Versus if you're an example that's more day to day. So if you're a middle manager somewhere, say you're a manager of IT for a large corporation, you've kind of climbed up the job ladder, so to speak, and you've gotten to that level, and you lose your job. You're not suddenly going to, if you hold on to that identity, right? So and usually your identity, it's out of habit, it's kind of cemented in there. But assuming you still believe yourself to be an IT manager, you're just going to find a similar job, getting paid a similar amount at a different company, and you're going to be fine, right? You're not suddenly going to just apply to work at a gas station overnight and make minimum wage again, because you're not at that identity. You can get there, right? So identity is pliable. You can shift it. It's just a belief. Beliefs are always choices, is what I say. So you can choose to believe something else, and it's what we're talking about in this video anyway. But if you don't, all things being equal, you will kind of default to that zone that you're comfortable, that it's the identity range principle, right? So that range is what you believe is possible for yourself in reality, what your beliefs about yourself and your beliefs about reality around you. That's how that gets dictated. And another example, that just to finish up on this section, is there was a scientist, actually a psychologist, that wanted to find out, are certain people actually luckier than other people, right? People that self-identified as either lucky or unlucky, does that have any bearing in reality? So they devised an experiment, hundreds of people, roughly about half of them self-identified as lucky, and half of them self-identified as unlucky. And they gave them both the same newspaper, and they said, count the number of photographs in this newspaper, and then once you're done, tell the researcher, you're going to be timed on this, and we're going to see if you got the number right. Something along those lines. But it was a clear task, pretty simple, that they were all to follow and see what results they would get. And what happened is, there was a trick to this newspaper. It was just basically, you count the number of images in the newspaper, but on the second page, in huge bold font, where you kind of taken up half the page, you couldn't miss it, there was this, which said, stop counting, tell the experiment you've seen this, and win 100 pounds, right? So as you can probably guess, the people that consider themselves lucky saw this right away and just collected their money. Basically just went up to the researcher, record time, right? Just collected their money. While the unlucky people were just kind of sitting and counting and wondering, hey, how these people done counting the photos already, right? They were doing the right things, going through the right motions and doing the right actions in the physical, but their belief literally filtered money, opportunity that was sitting right in front of them. They could not see this. They were like, oh, there's a picture there. Moved on to the next page, right? So they could not even see this opportunity in front of them, because of their reticular activating system because of their beliefs about themselves, their identity, who they believe themselves to be. So the same happens to all of us, right? And this is a truth in reality where your identity dictates the types of opportunities that you're even able to perceive, never mind act on or believe that it's possible for you to do anything with, right? So that's how your if I can just scroll back here. So basically coming back to this, right? This is how your identity is controlling your reality. It's basically your beliefs about reality, about who you are, about the world around you dictate the things that you can see. So let me just illustrate this real quickly. So you have your beliefs dictate what you can perceive around you, right? It's a filter. This is the RAS filter. What you believe is possible, right? Like we've been talking about, dictates what actually even gets into your conscious awareness, which dictates what actions you take on those things, how you go around in the actual world, and that dictates your outcomes, right? So this is the mechanism, how that works. And it's really identity, like I said earlier, right, is equal to your beliefs. So identity is who you believe yourself to be. So really it's just beliefs. Like I grew up Christian and I've studied the Bible extensively. That's why Neville Goddard is one of my favorite authors and teachers on this, because he was also really heavily into the Bible, seeing it as a psychological drama. Yeah, like the Bible says, right? So let the weak man say, "I am strong." The declaration precedes the demonstration, right? So you're declaring first, and as long as you get that into your conviction level belief, your subconscious beliefs, then reality has no choice but to reflect that back at you. Yeah, and Jesus, right? There's lots of examples in the Bible. Jesus saying, if you believe, even if you tell something crazy, even if you tell this mountain to jump into the sea, it'll happen, right? So just belief dictates everything. And you see this with the placebo effect, right? So just because somebody with authority wearing a white lab coat, for example, hands you a pill and says this pill is gonna, cure your pain, but it's gonna make you really itchy. So there's the placebo and the nocebo effect, which a lot of people are not even familiar with the nocebo effect, but it's anything that's negative that if you believe, it'll happen to you, right? If that doctor hands you that and you believe, both the positive and negative, the side effects will happen. So, and that's just completely based on your mind, and every single drug that's manufactured today has to go up against belief, which is kind of crazy to think about. But every single drug that they put into the marketplace, belief is so strong, there's such a strong effect that they have to test it in a double-blind study against the placebo, because if somebody makes a drug that has no effect whatsoever, but the person believes it enough, they'll have an effect. It'll actually work for them. And in order to kind of determine what's real and what's the belief or the placebo effect happening, they have to test that stuff out, which is fascinating to me, because all of reality runs on belief, right? So the only way any medicine works, it's not because of a certain compound, it's just running on belief, individual belief, society's beliefs, and everything that you see around you is just dictated by the mental realms. So moving on, I think this video is getting quite long. How your identity was programmed in the first place. So you have a child here, and you can see, there's all these, the vibe around money in their household was be realistic, right? So some certain things are impossible for you because you come from this family, and certain things are possible, certain things are not possible. Follow the rules, stay small, be realistic, right? So money is hard. All those kind of beliefs typically get passed on to a child through osmosis, through just, maybe it's said out loud, but just the vibe, the feeling around money in the household gets taught and instilled into the child as a core foundational belief. And that belief is not chosen, right? So you're too young to have any say in the matter. And it's a belief, meaning it's not true. It's not objective reality truth, ground level truth. It's just a belief. and the proof is all around you, right? So certain people believe that it's easy to make money, and it is easy for them. And anyway, getting off track again. But that's how it works. So you have in your childhood, whatever vibe exists around money in your household, that gets instilled into you, and then you bring that into adulthood, thinking that that's reality and that's just the way things are, rather than that's just something that I am believing. It was a choice. Belief is always a choice, whether it's your choice or somebody else is choosing that for you. It is a choice, and because it's a choice, it can actually change your mind and choose something else to believe if it doesn't serve you. So the way this played out for myself is I grew up in a developing country, grew up in Brazil, and not a great neighborhood, one of the worst neighborhoods in the area. Just talking about having barbed wire around most houses, right? Actually back then it was just shards of glass cemented into the wall, so that anyway, my entire household, my family, my parents, my extended family, they all had this belief that money was really hard to make. And that's, for them, it wasn't just a belief, right? That was reality. And because of that, that's what I grew up believing. I saw my dad working, 60 plus hours a week, so from, 6 in the morning, 5 in the morning until 1 in the morning, basically. He was gone and working hard to barely make ends meet. So just, yes, enough to survive, but just enough to survive kind of thing. And there's a lot of people that are in a similar situation, but the point is, that's what I believed was required in order to have money, and that money was just going to be barely enough. So I've had to shift some beliefs in my own life along the ways, and the clearest example of this was when I was around 17, 18. I don't remember exactly when, but I was working for minimum wage, right? Like I thought that's the only thing I thought I was capable of, because that was what I saw around me. And in that job, I was actually working. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was rainy and cold, and just one of those, dreary, is that a word? One of those types of days where it was just nasty to be outside. And I was picking up trash from a Burger King parking lot. I was in trash duty that day. And just at the worst time, one of my friends was driving by, decides to stop and say hello. And he's looking at me like with this look in his eye, and it just looks right into my soul, and it says, "Hey, Sergio, what are you doing here? Like, you're better than this. You can be better than this." And in that moment, I was like, I really don't have a good answer. I don't know what I'm doing here. I mean, I just believed that was all I was capable of, right? And that's what I was doing. But that was a moment that really changed the trajectory of my life, because I decided on the spot, hey, yeah, I'm going to believe you, right? So my friend said, hey, you're better than this. You can be better than this. So I made the choice there, by the grace of God, I guess, to believe. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I believe that. I can be better than this. And just through sheer, faith, I'm not sure what allowed me to just believe, but I truly believe my friend. I was like, yeah, you're right. I can be better than this. And within a few weeks, it couldn't have been more than a few weeks, I landed a job working for one of the largest technology companies in the world, which if you took three guesses, you probably realize and figure out which company this is, in sales, making more money than anyone else in my family or extended family, because I shifted my beliefs in that day. That allowed me to see opportunities that were there all along. Those jobs were there all along. It was just a sales job, which I ended up falling in love with. But because I believed that I could be better than that, it opened up my eyes to a whole world that wasn't around me before. and then I acted on that, and just the belief allowed me to go past that filter, right? So change beliefs allowed me to bypass that filter that was there, and my reticular activating system opened up so that I could see the other opportunities. And then because belief was able to bypass the filter, the new aligned actions followed, and I was able to land that job. And that was one of many identity changes that I've gone through in my life. So that being said, so how do you actually do it, right? So that we know that people can make a choice and change their identity, who they believe themselves to be, that belief. And belief is always a choice, but how do you actually implement that? So this is a protocol on shifting your identity, and I call it the RISE protocol. So this is the RISE protocol, where you first reveal the limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck where you are. Identify with extreme precision what the next level version of yourself looks like, how they act, how they show up in the world. Just have a very clear target that you're aiming for. Sacrifice, where you have to consciously let go and basically kill off the old identity. And then lastly, embody, right? So from that day, you will fully be living in and embodying that version of yourself that you have set as the next level, that has achieved the things that you're looking to achieve already. So for each of these, I have a few practical steps that you can take to actually fulfill on each of the 4 parts of this identity shifting process. Jump into the first one, review, where you're revealing your subconscious beliefs that are capping your results right now, right? So basically, you need to conduct what I call, oh, that is quite large. This is where you're conducting belief archaeology, basically finding out what the beliefs are that are keeping you stuck where you are right now. The way to do that, the best process of doing that is asking yourself, what's my earliest memory about money that I remember from childhood? But not just, has to be something that was kind of more felt than, something that people said. So what the vibe was around that in your childhood, right? So like I mentioned earlier, the example of my own life, right? So my parents believed it was really hard to make money. Another one for me was a bigger deal even, was because my dad was always away from the household. And I saw that, and I saw that's what's required to actually make a very small amount of money to make ends meet, basically. I believe that it's just not worth it to try to make a lot of money, because it means you're going to be spending time away from your family, from your kids. And I didn't want that for my own family, for my own kids, right? So even to that level, the belief that the vibe was, I have to work extra hard to make a small amount of money. And that means spending time away from sacrificing, right? Spending time away from my family. That belief was instilled into me, not because someone had said something like money doesn't grow on a tree. No, those things were not spoken in my home, but the belief was there in my parents, and it just by me being present and just a child in that environment, I adopted those beliefs of my own, and I had to later go in and replace those beliefs with more empowering beliefs that I actually chose, that weren't just chosen for me. And the other interesting thing to ask yourself is, was there, because typically your old identity is there to help you, to protect you, and to keep you safe, and to help you as best as it can. And one of the ways it does that is by making sure that you're coherent with the values that you believe are important, right? So sometimes the vibe around money in the household is that money is evil, right? Because our family doesn't have any, but those guys, the super rich guys, they're just greedy and wanting to take that money, or they're going to go to hell, right? All those things might be thoughts and beliefs that are in the parents, and because the child doesn't really have much of a choice, they're just kind of incorporate all those beliefs as their own. And then the trickier part of this is that you don't see it as beliefs. You see this as just, this is just reality, right? It's never like a belief that, oh yeah, I can just choose to believe something else. No, it's embedded. That's why it works in the way it does. It's such a deep level, at the subconscious level, that it's just the way reality is for you, right? It's not, there's no question about it. It could be that, nobody in my industry charges that much money from their customers, so it's impossible. It's not possible. It's out of the realm of reality to charge more. Whereas if you had a different belief, or maybe someone else has a different belief, they can charge more, right? So it's just depending on what you believe about reality and about yourself. So that's belief archaeology. So just conducting that. I put together a custom GPT, if you want to check it out, that makes this process a whole lot easier. I actually tried it myself. I had folks try it, and you'd be surprised how deep the information goes. Like how, if you answer the questions honestly, don't be surprised if emotions come up when you realize, this is why I'm kind of self-sabotaging here. This is why I don't want to do XYZ to grow my business or to apply for that promotion, right? There's usually some very good reasons where your old identity is keeping you safe or keeping you loyal to your roots, to your family, to your dad, to your mom, right? To all those things. And to go against that would mean that you're kind of almost hurting yourself, right? Or just being less congruent with who you believe yourself to be. So anyway, link in the comments if you're interested. Is free. It's a custom GPT that if you answer just 3 questions, it should take 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe, and you should be able to get a pretty helpful result as to what your limiting beliefs are. So this will help with this step. I dropped my pen, my stylus, and I can't see it. I have no idea where it went. It's gone. Okay. All right, I'm back. Anyway, so hopefully that makes sense. The second one, results and behavior audit. So for this, I want you to write down your financial results for the past 12 months, your income, savings, debt changes, all of that. And this is because your results will reveal your actual beliefs, not just your more aspirational ones. And this is where, you can have people that are doing affirmations and they can say that they deserve wealth all day long, multiple times a day, but it doesn't get reflected into their bank account because it's not a real belief. It's a superficial, maybe conscious level belief, whereas you need to impregnate the subconscious in order to have that birth into your reality and be reflected back at you. Then you would look back at the last 30 days of spending and of time. Where did your money go and where did your time go for the past 30 days? Because this will show you very clearly not only where your priorities are, but what you believe to be possible about yourself, right? So just ask the question, what would I have to believe in order to spend my time like this? And just be honest with yourself, right? So you're the only one that's going to see this. But is there, if you're just kind of doom scrolling for many hours a day, and whereas you know that you could be spending that time doing something that would either bring you more money or improving your skills or, working on a new offer for your business, whatever that is, and you know the things that you need to do, but you're not doing it. So your actions for the past 30 days, what do they tell you about your true beliefs about who you are, what's possible for you, and about the reality around you? And that's really it for the reveal step. The R, right, in that process is basically trying to get an understanding of what the beliefs are that are holding you where you are today. And those 2 practical steps will help you get there. Again, the custom GPT should really save you some time and kind of take the guesswork out of this process, because it'll just ask you, like I said, 3 questions. And if you answer them honestly, it should give you a pretty accurate result as far as what the main subconscious limiting beliefs are in your life right now that are keeping you where you are today. So again, link is in the comment. It's free. And you should be able to access that, and hopefully that helps you as well. So next would be the identify step, where you design with extreme precision what the next level version of yourself looks like, how they act, how they show up in the world, their values, their core beliefs, the non-negotiables, all of those things in detail so that you can have a very clear map and a gap really that you need to fill. You know exactly what you need to do to get to that level. So the first step would be to create a full identity profile. Oh, that's not right. There we go. Full identity profile for the next level version of yourself. And this would include physically, environmentally, and relationally. So this is where it starts to get fun, right? So you're looking at how, so the version of yourself that already has the dream life that you're looking to achieve, the dream level of wealth, their relationships, their physical health, right? All of those things. How do they show up in the world? When you kind of close your eyes and imagine that version of yourself, just having a full detailed description written down will allow you to very clearly see the gap between where you are today and where you need to be. And this will clear the path for you to act on those things in order to get to that level that you're looking for. On the physical side of things, you want to look at how they carry themselves, their posture, how do they hold eye contact, how do they stand, their shoulders, when they walk into the room, what's their body language like, and do they kind of sit quietly in the corner or do they dominate the room? So all those things these are things that only you can answer accurately about the next level version of yourself. And you do that by just thinking, what would have to be true about myself in order to have the results that I'm looking for, right? So how would I have to act and physically be and do and look like if I was that version of myself already? And just answering those questions one by one will allow you to have that blueprint that you can use to actually shift into the next level version of yourself. This could be how they're talking, right? Just visually, just all of the little details that go into how that next level version of yourself physically shows up in the world. And this is because identity is embodied, it's not just mental, right? So when you see someone walking into the room, their energy will kind of spread across to the different people in the room way before they actually say anything, right? So this is all happening with the connection between their mind and their body and how that's showing up in the world around them. Environmentally, so what's on their desk, right? Like when they open up their eyes the first thing in the morning, what do they see around them? What does their environment look like? Their room, do they have clutter spread around in their whole house or their office? Is their office clean or is it not clean, right? Do they have maybe a journal in their office? What are the things that the next level version of yourself would have around them in their environment? And you're going to start to notice a theme here. These are all things, typically, these will all be things that you can actually start implementing today and doing today in order to be living in that level already, right? So a lot of times you think that you have to wait until certain things happen until you can actually start to act like that version of yourself, whereas it's the other way around, right? So you can first be that version of yourself, and then you can do the things that version does, and then you can have the things that version has as well. So the be, do, have paradigm is what we're talking about. And the last one, relationally, how do they show up in relationships with their loved ones, with strangers, right? Are they like charismatic? Do they have people that aggregate them whenever they go into a room or an event? How do they communicate with other people? Do they have strict boundaries, right? Do they set the right types of boundaries with people around them? Or are they more of like a pushover, right? So these are all kind of questions that you would eventually be thinking about in order to answer them accurately and have that blueprint for the next level version of yourself. And then the next step here on the I side of things would be defining the core convictions of your next level self, where you simply write down the 5 non-negotiable beliefs that you have about reality as the next level version. These would be about money, success, your own abilities, the environment, the world around you, what's possible in your industry or in your job, right? Whatever that is, These, you come up with 5 kind of core convictions about that, and then you can write it down and think about what would the next level version of myself, what would their convictions have to be in order for reality to bend in that way where they have your desired reality, right? They have the things that you are aiming for already. They already possess those things. They already are living that life. So what would have to be true about what they believe in order for that to be true? Last one for this one, I want you to write down a detailed day script. And this is another fun one where you're just looking at what would that ideal desired reality look like in a day in the life, right? In that day, in that life of that next level version of yourself. Do they wake up? What is the first thing they do? Do they have breakfast with loved ones, or do they just, maybe they're intermittent fasting, right? Do they just jump into a cold plunge? Do they go to the gym? Do they start working right away? So whatever that is, the perfect, ideal, desired reality, that ideal day, what would that look like? Just write it down. Just from first thing when you open your eyes in the morning, and then to the last thing when your head hits the pillow. All those things that happen during that day in detail, so that you know exactly what your life would look like in those moments. And that brings us to the third step, which is, if I can just see, okay, sacrifice. This is where we have to let go of that old identity. And it can be kind of emotional because you're letting go of a very familiar identity, of an actual entity that has been with you for, sometimes for decades, right? For your whole life. And has gotten you through tough situations and has helped you to get to where you are today. But it's important to make the decision to decide if you do want to have that next level of wealth, of health, just your desired reality. There's no way that you can get there with the identity that you have today. Otherwise, you would already be there. You would already have that reality. But you don't, which means your current identity is what's keeping you stuck where you are today. And unless you make the choice, make the decision to let go of that identity, you won't be able to get there, because your old identity is always going to pull you back. It's like there's a gravity, there's a pull. That identity wants to remain alive and in charge. And unless you consciously decide to cut it off and let go and make that decision, you won't be able to move on to the next level. And the word to decide actually comes from the Latin decidere or decidere. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. However, the root word is to cut off with a finality to it, to decide, to cut off any other outcome other than what you're deciding for. And if you look at the etymology of the word, so anytime you see side, right? So insecticide, herbicide, that's actually to get rid of, right? Completely kill off whatever that is. And that's what you need to do in this stage. And there's no way around it. If this is kind of like a tough step that a lot of people are not able to get through. But I'm going to give you some easy, practical things that you can do in order to be able to do this in I shouldn't say easy, right? But some practical things that will make it at least simpler to do, that you can do that today. So for the first one, and I actually want you to do this, again, this is probably one of the most important steps. So number one, a goodbye letter and a burning ritual. Not sure if you can read my writing. Let me know in the comments. My wife says that no one will be able to read this. So anyway, sorry, something in my eye. So this is where you write a letter to your old self, your old identity, and not an angry letter or anything like that, just thanking them for getting you to where you are today and saying thank you, but I won't need you anymore, basically. And along with that, you're going to write down all the limiting beliefs that you've identified in the previous step and in the first step, and write them all, list them all there, because you're also going to be letting go of those beliefs, right? And that will allow you to just have it all on one page. And so once you have it all on one page, it's pretty simple. You just burn it. Just light a match and just watch it burn. Like all your limiting beliefs, your old identity, the things that were holding you back. Symbolically, this will help you cement in your mind that you're currently now operating under new identity. That is no longer you. That old you is now gone for good, right? You've decided, you've burned the ships. There's no going back to that. Now that's gone. And then you would write down today's date or whatever date you do this in your calendar, so that you know exactly the date at which your life changed, right? So I didn't write down my date when I made that decision in the parking lot of a Burger King. But this is the idea, right? So you're making this official so that you start to get a sense for this is the new you. And all of these steps, by the way, the way reality works is, if it's not clear already, your subconscious beliefs get reflected back at you from reality eventually. There's a reality lag principle as well, but whatever you believe down the subconscious level, at the conviction level, you're convinced about this is true reality for you. All those beliefs have no choice but to get reflected back at you from your reality. And all these steps are just designed to slowly but surely implant into your subconscious mind those beliefs, like the belief that you are currently a new version of yourself, a new version, the next level version. You've leveled up right now, and you're living that life right now, right? So as those beliefs get implanted into your subconscious, as soon as that seed germinates, as soon as that seed is in place, it's just a matter of time until reality reflects that back at you. So that's one of the things to help with instilling that in your mind, your subconscious mind, that you're leveling up right now. Number 2. Oh man. Whoa, what? I don't know what happened there. Number 2, boat burning. Basically, boat burning, you're going to make it very uncomfortable if you ever decide to go back on your decision that you made today. It would be to pre-commit before you're ready, your time, money, your reputation even to doing the things that your next level self would do, whether that means, purchasing that course, working with that coach, putting a down payment in that new apartment, moving to a different city, and committing to that with your close friends or loved ones is going to make it so that if you ever decide to back out of this thing, it's going to be at the very least very, very uncomfortable in some way, whether it be financially or, people kind of looking at you, hey, didn't you say you were going to do this? So this is the boat burning exercise. And then the last one, environmental purge. And this is simply just in your digital and physical environment, getting rid of anything that is kind of keeping you in the same vibration, the same frequency as your old identity, whether it means reprogramming your feed, just unsubscribing to folks, right? Whatever that might mean for you, or in your physical life, if your next level identity is, they eat a certain diet, for example, just removing everything that's not in that diet from your household, all of those things, in order to have your environment purged from everything that was true for the old identity. By the way, if you want one-on-one help and accountability in doing any of these steps, there's a link in the description where you can work with me one-on-one as well, if there's something that would help you out. And that brings us to E, which is embody. Yeah, okay. I don't have a whole lot of space here, but we'll do what we can. By the way, let me know what you think about this artwork. This is courtesy of Nana Banana. And hopefully you find this information valuable as well. This is my first video ever, so hopefully this is at least helpful for somebody out there. To recap, at this point, you've reviewed all the limiting beliefs that are running your life right now and keeping you stuck. You've identified and defined very precisely and clearly what the next level version of yourself looks like, acts like, and just shows up in the world in all the details. You've gone ahead and sacrificed the old identity so that you can free up space to actually embody and live in the new identity, which is where we are right now. We're gonna, from today, start to embody and live, step into that new identity fully as of right now. And I've mentioned this, but just as a reminder, all the steps that have gone into all of this, the work prior to this step, are all designed to imprint and impregnate your subconscious beliefs, your subconscious mind with the seed that your new identity is firmly in place, and that is who you are right now. Once that seed is taking root inside of your subconscious, that is what eventually brings it into your experienced reality. So my definition for manifestation is the inevitable unfolding of your dominant subconscious beliefs into your experienced reality, meaning it's inevitable. You're always manifesting either way. Most people are just doing it unconsciously or without doing it on purpose. So that means you're already a master manifestor. You already have what it takes to do it. The idea that people need to keep in mind is, how do you do it consciously? How do you choose what to manifest? And the easiest way to do this, and the way that I found that works the best, is just actually the only way to actually do this is to implant the idea, the belief into your subconscious mind to a point where there's no doubt about it, right? So it's firmly planted and it's part of your conviction about reality, about who you are, just a belief that's core level to who you are. And that has no choice but to be reflected back at you from reality once you do that. So when you're talking about embodying, this is also following along the same lines, where it's as you do these steps, as you act in a certain way, as you kind of fill in the shoes of the version of yourself that has the dream outcome already, it's also cemented into your mind, your subconscious mind, that this is who you are right now, and it's just a matter of time before the results start to catch up to your assumed identity in your mind. As Neville said, an assumption, though false, if persisted on, will eventually turn to fact in due time. So the first tool that will help you with this is what I call a new self decision filter, which basically is, before every major decision, even minor decisions that you come across in your day-to-day, just ask yourself, what would the next level version of myself do in this situation? What would Sergio 2.0, or whatever your name is, 2.0, do in the situation? The person that already has the dream life that you're looking for, your ultimate goals, right? The desired reality. How would they act in this situation? And then this is based on everything that we've discussed up until this point, how you clearly identified to a very minute detail what that next level person looks like, acts like, and what their mental paradigm is like. You should have a pretty good idea of how they would act in certain situations. So whenever there's a choice to be made about how to spend your time, right? Whether you're going to be kind of sitting on the couch and watching some Netflix, or is there something specific that the next level version of yourself would do in that situation? Or if you're faced with a choice whether to invest into yourself with the education or with improving a skill versus saving that money, what would the next level version of yourself do? So in every little situation in life that comes up, just identifying what the next level version of yourself would do in that situation and just doing that from today, right? So there's nothing really stopping you from doing this from right now. Just like when we identified, the environment of the next level version of yourself, how they carry themselves, their body posture, most of the things that are associated with with that version, the dream level version of yourself, are just things that you can do today, right? That you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to wait for things to change. You can do them right now. And this is exactly how you impregnate your subconscious mind with the seed that this is who you are right now. And once that takes root, that's when you see reality reflect that back at you. So reality has no choice but to reflect back to you what your conviction is, what your beliefs at the innermost level are. So this is why this is exercises there. And next, I want you to keep a daily evidence log. So this is pretty simple. Each evening, as you're kind of getting into your bedtime routine, just write down 3 pieces of evidence that you have indeed become that new version of yourself for today, right? So, whether one of those choices that we discussed in step number 1 here, you actually chose the choice that the ideal version of yourself would choose in that situation, right? So just write down those 3 kind of proof points. And the reason to do it right before bed is when your day is over, but also right when you're about to fall asleep, in the the hypnagogic state, either right before sleep or right after you wake up, the frequency of the waves in your brain are more receptive to exactly what we're doing here, which is modifying your subconscious mind, right? So this is when you're more prone to, even if you're trying to lucid dream or enter into the astral realm, that's when the door is open there. And even Neville Garda talked about this in detail when he described the process that he used for visualization, which is, I think it was his preferred method for planting that seed into the subconscious, which we'll talk about in a second, actually. Actually, we'll talk about it right now. So that's actually the last step here for Embody. And I call it the future memory practice. So all the things together, all the steps together are holistically going to allow you to shift your identity in a way that's going to make it stick, ideally, if you're able to kind of to stick with it yourself. So this is a really key step, because if you can successfully visualize and you do it in a way that it implants the idea into your subconscious mind, your subconscious has no resistance. Once you are able to enter into that room with your subconscious, and your conscious mind just goes in and plants that seed, your subconscious is not going to resist it. It doesn't just ask. It doesn't ask questions. It doesn't, ask what ifs. It doesn't say, but what about this? What about that? It just accepts it as truth, and then in due time, that seed will germinate, and then reality will reflect that back at you. So the easiest way and probably the simplest way to do this is through visualization, especially visualization when you're within those certain frequency waves for your brain. Visualization when it's right before you're falling asleep, as you're falling asleep, or right as you're waking up, because that's the time, like I said, that your brain is most open to this type of suggestion that will get directly implanted into your subconscious. So, and I'll keep it simple for 5 minutes, even 5 to 10 minutes. As long as it feels good, you can keep doing it, right? But don't do it to a point where you're just kind of getting bored with it, basically. But I want you to visualize a very short, maybe 3 to 5 seconds max scene that implies that you are already the version of yourself that has your wildest financial goals achieved already, that has the whatever it is that you're looking for, whatever it is, if it's a mansion or a nice car, or they've achieved a certain revenue number for their business or a job, whatever it is that you know in your head that the next level version of yourself has. I want you to pick a scene that implies that it has already occurred in the past. Not that you've just gotten the promotion today, right? Not the very moment, or you just made a sale today for your business, whatever that is. Not today. I want you to pick a scene that implies that this already happened in the past, a year ago, 2 years ago, right? And this is your life now, that this is your reality for a while now. And the reason being is you don't want any chances that this manifestation will come to place and then it's going to be short-lived, right? So you want to set the scene in a point where you're secure in a new reality that you've achieved and secured for yourself, and it's kind of your new norm, so to speak. You already live in that day to day. And the other important piece to this is you want to visualize first person. So looking through your own eyes, not, third person. You're seeing yourself. You just kind of, see your own hands with your own eyes, and all the senses, as many senses as you can, just make it feel as real as possible. So from touch, smell, hearing, and vision. A lot of people, the vision is the strongest, but as many senses as you can incorporate into it will help to solidify this as truth, and will help your subconscious accept this as truth, as an experienced memory. That's why I call it the future memory practice. If you do this right, your subconscious definitely will have no clue whether this is true or not. It will just accept it into its own reality as real. And I've even had people just believe that this, just kind of get confused, right? So if you do it right, it's going to feel real even to your conscious mind, even to your awake mind. You're going to start to it's going to feel real for you, basically, over time, right? And like I said, do this for, 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes a night, as long as it feels good. You're visualizing a super short scene, 3 to 5 seconds. And my recommendation, and this is something that Neville Garda talked about, would be to, one of the easiest way to do this would be to pick someone that you're close with, that you trust, and that maybe a loved one, family member, close friend, and have them either congratulating you about the success and something that implies that you've achieved the goal that you've set for yourself here, right? Financial goal, or just, kind of having a conversation. And in that conversation, again, really short, 5 seconds max. In that conversation, they're mentioning, hey, isn't it so cool that you've been able to achieve, $10,000 a month for like, what is it, 5 years now, right? Well, maybe, hopefully not. Hopefully you're just kind of escalating from there and just getting more and more. But maybe somebody's saying, no, isn't it cool that you've been able to achieve greater and greater heights in your business, right? So you started with 10,000 in revenue per month. Now you're 50,000, and how quickly that happened. Or, hey, congratulations on your new role as VP of blah, blah, blah. You deserve it, right? So just super short scenes that imply that you've hit that goal. And then, it can be kind of the congratulations, but like I said, it would be better if it was kind of down the road a little bit, right? So, maybe you're at the 2-year anniversary of when you became whatever position at the company, or of when you first hit your 100,000 a month goal, and you've kind of only escalated from there, and you even higher now, right? Or it's been so many years since you've done this identity shifting work, and isn't it crazy, like a friend of yours or a loved one saying, hey, that's crazy that you did that 2 years ago, and within months you hit that goal, and you've only kind of kept going up higher after that. So a short scene that implies that it's true, make it feel good, have all the tones of all the senses involved in it, and importantly, whatever is a natural emotion that would come up in that scene for you, feel that, like just build it up within yourself, because the subconscious mind is largely driven by emotion as well. So just amp up that emotion and just be in that place, in that time, fully in first person. And if you could do that successfully, it'll impregnate and just plant that seed into your subconscious mind. And like I said, it's only a matter of time until that's reflected back at you. And then it's up to you. You have to stick with it long enough to see that being reflected at you. So a lot of people will do this work and they'll look around and nothing has changed, even though they themselves, their identity might have changed. There's something I call the reality lag principle. There's always a time delay between when you first make a change in your mental state until that's reflected back at you. Sometimes there's a short delay, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but it always must reflect that back at you. And it's your job just to stick with it long enough so that you start to see the results, and just having the conviction that you've done the work and reality must reflect that back at you. So without wavering and thinking, maybe I didn't do it right. So just, that you've done this work. As long as you've done these steps, you know that the work is already done and the reality just has to catch up to who you are today. So like Neville Goddard said, the new assumption, though false in the beginning, will eventually harden into fact in due time. And just like what I did in my own life, many times, I won't go into all the other examples, but the story I shared earlier, in that parking lot, I made that choice, and I was still working at that Burger King, right? And nothing changed in that spot. I was still having to show up the next day to work, still clocking in. Oh, I can't believe that was my life back then, but it didn't change. And because I changed myself, I saw different opportunities and I acted on those opportunities. And eventually reality did reflect that back at me. And I was able to see the levels, the next levels that I was looking for, and the abundance there. Beyond anything I could imagine. So to recap again, you've, at this point, you've gone through all the steps, right? So we have, the review your limiting beliefs, identify your next level self, exactly what that looks like. Sacrifice your old self so that you're no longer having to go back to that, burn the boats, make it uncomfortable for you to go back, and embody, just fully live within the new self until reality catches up with you. And now it's really up to you, right? So you've done everything that you need to do. Hopefully you've gone through all the steps one by one. It's really up to you to continue to embody that next level version of yourself without wavering, until reality catches up with it, until you go past that reality lag and start to see that echo, the results from your work now. Because your life today is not a result of what it is right now, right? It's a result of who you were being last month, 6 months ago, or a year, multiple years ago. All that has led you to who you are today and how your life looks today. And making this shift, I've seen it happen really quickly, as in my own life, right? But it's just a matter of you sticking with it and having faith in the process, just having conviction that it is going to work, that it's going to make it into actual reality, reflecting that back at you. So hopefully you've either done the work, or you can rewatch the video and go through it, point by point, and actually conduct that today so that you don't let time lapse between now and your next level. Like I said, the next 6 months are going to go by either way, and it's up to you whether you act on that right now and see a completely different surroundings in 6 months, or you're kind of looking around and more of the same, right? Hopefully this has helped. Let me know in the comments if there's any questions or anything that I could help you with. Check out the custom GPT for the belief archaeology work, just identifying the limiting beliefs that are running your life right now. Free resource. Hopefully that helps you as well. So we talked a little bit about the future memory practice as well. Visualization is one of the most important parts of this, like I said, because it ensures that the seed gets truly implanted into your subconscious mind, which is the prerequisite for having that reflected back at you in reality, in your 3D realm. So I put together this video that shows you exactly how to do this in the most effective way possible, so that the subconscious has no choice but to accept that, and reality has no choice but to reflect that reality back at you once you do this. So watch this video next, and I'll see you there.